It's the Monday Morning Show. Today is March 15th, 2017. Just 3 weeks until I hit the Pacific Crest Trail. Beware the Ides of March, indeed. I'm Ken LaSalle from kenlasalle.com, and I am the world's worst backpacker. So what the hell am I doing planning a hike up the Pacific Crest Trail? That's a question I doubt I'll ever be able to answer. Not until I'm stuck in a Motel 6 somewhere outside of Agua Dulce with an infected blister on my foot at least. If I even make it that far. Here's something nobody ever tells you about the weeks leading up to a PCT hike. I feel like I'm about to lose my mind. The stress is, I've been hiking for months. I've got all my gear. I've bought so much food for resupplies. My studio looks like a warehouse. And the worst thing is this nagging paranoia that I've forgotten one simple thing. One thing that could convince me not to go. Oh, wait. I remember. I'm allergic to the desert air. Or is it pine trees? Or maybe long walks. Maybe I'm allergic to long walks. Anything to get me off the hook. Because right about now, I would love to have some justification for quitting before I even start. Because I've made this about more than just myself, you see? I've taken this personal experience and, as I do with so many things, I've made it a part of my public persona. I've even branded myself world's worst backpacker right here. So failing is no longer just a personal thing. It's now tied to my writing career as well. Once again, Ken LaSalle has taken over a part of my life. If it was just me, in my civilian guise as mild-mannered Clark Kent, failing wouldn't be such a big deal. I fail at things all the time, and you never find out about them because I don't release a YouTube video about it or a monologue about it. But my reason for making this public is because I know I would never do it if I didn't feel the pressure necessary to do it. And I don't get that pressure until I make it public. Quite simply, I needed a push. And I got it. But I'm not entirely sure that was a good idea. So, having said all of that, I'm kind of freaking out a bit. I like to think this isn't so unusual that other people freak out too, because I'd like very much not to be alone in this, even if I am. But let's forget that for a minute so I can catch you up on what's been going on in the past week. Much of my life has been very much the same. I've been hiking. Actually, I've been hiking the same 21-mile training hike for a while now, because there aren't a whole lot of options for hiking near my house, and Vicky and I share one car, so scheduling is an issue. And I'm pretty damn bored of this training hike. One of the perks of being on the PCT will be not seeing the same thing over and over and over again. Which is what I get now. The same scenery, the same trail, the same everything. Over and over and over. Yuck. I haven't hiked as much as I would have liked, thanks to a bout of insomnia I had last week. If you want to guess that my insomnia is being spurred on by my stress, I'd have to say you're right. And last week I went 3 or 4 nights without sleep before Vicky came home from work one night armed with melatonin and ZzzQuil. Now, I've never tried ZzzQuil before, but I knew all about melatonin. I don't get along really well with melatonin. We'd tried a 2 milligram version before, but that had me unconscious until the following evening. But this time, Vicky came home with 1 milligram pills. So, I took one. Took the ZzzQuil, too. After a few nights without sleep, just about any remedy looks inviting. And I woke up the next morning from a full night's sleep. It was great. I threw on my hiking clothes, put my backpack and all my gear in the back of the car, and Vicky drove me to the trailhead. Now, here's something I didn't realize. Though I was awake, the melatonin was still in my system. And my training hike starts with a 1,000-foot climb in about 2 to 3 miles. It gets pretty steep. I had to climb this ridge over Anaheim Hills, and once I reached the top of that ridge, I felt like I was ready for a 3-week nap. "Come on, Ken," I said to myself. "You can do it." Except it sounded more like, "Ken, which is when I realized I was still drugged. And I was hiking. And I had 40 pounds on my back. So, that was fun. Nearly 11 miles later, I collapsed in a chair at Taco Bell and texted for a ride. I was surprised Vicky didn't try any tough love by stopping my friend Sean from picking me up. I shouldn't have been, though. The tough love was on its way. Let's go then to this past Sunday, March 12th, and the heat was on in Southern California. I knew my hike would take me through heat in excess of 90 degrees, so my strategy was as follows. First, I'd take my headlamp and leave before sunup to miss as much heat as possible. Second, I'd road test my reflective umbrella for the first time. I'll need both of these on the PCT, so it doesn't hurt to use them as much as I can. Vicky dropped me off an hour before sunup, and off I went. Of course, my headlamp started to die after about 15 minutes. Of course, nothing can be easy, you know. Fortunately, the beam faded slowly and didn't die completely until the sun was up enough to provide some rudimentary light. And I was happy for that because, like the PCT, this was also an equestrian trail. And these equestrians were very regular. You know? Like all over the trail. But the sun came up, and I hurried through my miles, arriving at my halfway point, that Taco Bell I told you about earlier, before 11 a.m. By that time, the heat was really coming in, and I had dumped my hiking hat for my buff, but I wasn't ready yet for the umbrella. But I was ready in an hour after my lunch was over. Temperatures outside exceeded 90 degrees, and I could feel it. So, out came the umbrella. I've seen a lot of people use these on the PCT, and I was looking forward to giving it a try. Its handle fit snugly under my backpack's chest strap, so I could use the umbrella hands-free. But you better believe I got some strange looks. Hell, I would have given myself a strange look. But by the time I was back on the trail with the other hikers, those looks turned to jealousy and even admiration. "Look at that! He's brought his own shade!" And the umbrella worked. No doubt about that. The air was cooler underneath. It almost felt like cheating. But after a while, there was only so much the umbrella could do. It could reflect the sun's rays beating down on me, but it couldn't do anything about the ambient temperature or the heat coming up off of the ground. In the end, my temperature under the shade remained a pretty steady 90 degrees. Not comfortable. I tried texting Vicky about the heat, about how I was feeling pretty bad under that heat, about how I was even feeling a bit nauseated. To which she replied, "You're right, that does sound awful. Be sure to drink lots of water." Nope, she wasn't going to save me this time. I was just going to have to suffer through that heat. And I hate the heat. That's why I'm leaving on the PCT in April, in the hopes of missing the summer heat. Let's see how well that goes. I made it, of course. I think my biggest weakness as a hiker is that I just give up too easily. I can do it, I just don't think I can do it. And that's a problem, because this weekend I'm going to have to stick with it. This weekend I'll be returning to the Pacific Crest Trail for my last big training hike. Well, big for me. I'll be starting out at Scissors Crossing, down by Julian, Saturday morning, and Vicky will pick me up at the Warner Springs Community Center on Sunday afternoon. That's about 32 miles. My plan is to hike 24 miles the first day. That's right, 24 miles. I'll take my lunch break at the Third Gate Water Cache, which is 14 miles in, and then hike another 10 miles before camping Saturday night at Barrel Springs. Now, I know that's a lot, but here are my thoughts pre-hike. The worst part about it is those first few miles, where I'll be climbing about 1,000 feet. But I do that every time I hike right now, so that shouldn't be too bad. Then it's more climbing for the rest of the day until mile 19 or so. Those last 5 miles down to Barrel Springs are mostly downhill, so that should be easier. On day 2, I'll only have to hike about 8 miles, and that should be no problem. The temperatures will be no hotter than 75 or so, and no lower than 42 or so. Not bad. On paper, then, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do this. But if I can't do this, it might be a good sign that I'm not ready to try the Pacific Crest Trail. And there's a thought. Not being ready. I mean, I know what that's like. I wasn't ready last year. This year, however, I'm going to try to stick with it even if I find out I'm not ready. As Vicky suggested the other night, even if I can't make it to Canada, that's no reason to give up. And I'm going to try to keep that in mind. The people I met last year on the PCT inspired me to want to try this again. They were the nicest, most giving people I think I've ever met. And I look forward to meeting some more PCT thru hikers this weekend when I'm out there. Can you believe there are already people hiking the PCT? I feel like my year-long wait is almost over. Of course, I'll be recording video of my hike this weekend on my phone, and you can expect a new video on my YouTube channel sometime, probably, late next week. I will certainly keep you posted. Until next time, be good to yourself, be kind to others, and let's make this world a better place.